Yeah. Okay. So, do you think that, like, you know how we have a spirit, right? And animals have spirits, everything has spirits. Do you think the way that our spirit and chose to incarnate as a human, do you think it's the same for animals? Like their spirits chose to incarnate as a dog?
That's a great I don't even think it's, like, constructed like that. Think that, like, I mean, quick answer, I obviously wanna think about it more, but quick answer, the way, like, all cells, whether they differentiate into an eye or a heart or a fingernail, all start out the same. I think the energy starts out the same, but it forms in these different diversities. But, like, I also don't think that, like, a plant spirit is more or less than a human spirit, and a human spirit is more or less than the essence of a mountain or something like that. I think that God has a very special relationship with man, human specifically, like out of all of the galactic entities, up, down, around, and every whatever, like we are a unique relationship, I would say. But as far as plants and butterflies and fish and microbes, and I think they're all just as like not as important, but like integral and important, and the way that they embody it is almost like I think of them as like, yes, they chose to be here. Yes, they're here in service. Yes, they have consciousness that returns. But I feel like a human soul is incarnated at a certain time for a certain reason of like I don't know if a rose like has a mission, like I don't know if it's imbued with the same incoming process, like that's a really interesting question. I do know that it's conscious. I do know that like one day when we all come back to source, we're gonna be surprised who our cousins are. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna be like, oh, there was like way more. Like I do believe when you hug a tree, it knows you're hugging it and it remembers you. Like obviously that's why I'm so big on wilderness therapy and I've seen it. It's observable and repeatable, which is a scientific method. Nature responds. But I don't know if it like you actually come in the same way because that process is so specific to a human. Like humans are such unique celestial creatures. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the way you correlated it to returning back to source, that was what I would like when I worded the question. That's kind of what I was pointing to too, like from the origin of source, like, or I wouldn't even have to say origin. I guess when we, I guess, consciously remember we're back in our true home, back in spirit form, all of that. How would that? I guess I want to say communication with the dog spirit be? But I know it's in a way that the human mind can't fathom. So that's why that question is very is tricky.
Well, it's like telepathic. That's what we would call telepathic. All we're calling telepathic is the ability to tune into different stations. But like basically you and I met each other through a I mean like there's no reason we should have showed up at each other's algorithm. Start there. Right? There's no reason this should be flowing the way that it's flowing. Start there. But there's also like humans have like extrasensory perception with like their loved ones. Like they know if someone's hurt, they know if someone's sick. So I feel like if you're operating on that level, your relationship to animals and plants is like on that frequency. You don't need words because you're already like
Yeah.
transmuting the information. I mean, I've had a lot of pretty phenomenal experiences with not only in nature but like with nature, and the first time it happened I was kind of freaked out because I was like these trees are talking to me, like they're looking at me, like the trees introduce themselves is the best way I could explain it. Like being a middle school teacher, for 15 years, you get 150 new students every year. So I have to learn 150 names within I try within the first 2 weeks of school to make everybody feel welcome, So it's a lot of names to remember, especially over that long a time. But the first day of class, they all just kind of sit in their little seat and smile at you, and you get out your little roll call, and you got to figure out which face goes with which smile. And it was like that, but with trees showed up at once, and they were all like, "We see you," and I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot of faces looking at me," and they were like, "We just want to say hi," and I was like, "Let's go one by one," like it was It was really wild, but I think you have to be in that frequency, you know what I mean? Like, none of that was audible, you know? It just but, like, to your point in last episode of, like, rising to that when you're still, and that stillness, that, like, spring ahead of God and that richness of knowing and connectivity, and what did you say our basic state was? It was so beautiful.
Of happiness, peace, bliss, and fulfillment.
Never-ending waters, like, replenish. And you have to get to that state to hear from trees and plants, you know? That's the state that they are just chilling in. I think one of the things that so fascinates me about nature, specifically flowers, is they're the most delicate, like, there's not, like, warriorship or aggression when you think of a wildflower. You're like, you've got this delicate set of petals, anybody could eat you, step on you, cut you, burn you, like you're not really a fortress, but your essence is so medicinal, powerful, also just beautiful, like, you know, and the enrichment of its visual pleasure by you existing. That's literally all you do. You just exist and then you don't exist anymore, the end, you know? And like to me, there's so many lessons in just that. Like if you could get to the point in, if I could get to the point in this where I could just be like a flower, that would be a wisdom.
Yeah, it's the mind because like that's literally like the yeah, I can't compare. I wasn't trying to compare it, but like how you explained the trees talking to you, my version of that up to this point in this body would be synchronicities from the universe. When I started like when I woke up, it was like it was boom 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 boom. I'm like, oh my goodness, butterflies spawning. It was stuff like too many things that what we call coincidences. It stopped being coincidental, and I know that was orchestrated because it was showing me like you're not tripping. Like this is really happening. And then once I realized it's always been like this, I just had sunglasses on so I couldn't see it. It's like wow. And eventually I found out the only the only thing that was allowing me to see that was being here and now, no judgment, like no judgment in my mind, like looking at this reality as just a blank canvas and allowing life to show me how good it can get. Because that's one thing I always pray on. I always ask Heavenly Father to show me how good you can get. And me asking that put me in a lot of situations where I was uncertain. So, but it was perfect because it answered my prayers and my prayer, that prayer still gets answered day by day. I continuously get to see how good Source can get, how loving it can get. The nature of it is it's just beautiful.
Totally beautiful. So I think this is a great time to say welcome to episode 4 of the Deep Ship Podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Sylvie Silva, aka Mother Nurture of the Cicada Institute.
Co-host Bougie, AS Bougie, happy to have you here.
And we're just going to open up with a quick little prayer. Bougie, do you mind leading again? I loved your thank you.
It's so funny. I was just talking to my friend yesterday. Someone asked her to pray, and she didn't know what to say. And it's. I'm kind of the same way because when I pray, it's usually silent. It's no words. It's just feeling. But I was telling her the thing is through our conversation, for whatever reason, I just get excited to share with her, and my mind tends to, I guess, overthink. So like even like as I'm getting ready to about to do this, my mind self monitors what I say, but that's okay. I've learned that I can say whatever and it's exactly what needs to be said. So I guess what I'm feeling today,
Absolutely.
what I'm feeling in this moment is I'm just grateful for all the beings that come here to just be in this space, really. It's a lot of things that go on in the world, but the one thing that never changes with this changing world is the awareness that we are. That's always on. We're always aware. That never leaves us. And from that place, that's the place where we never ever, like how they say in the Bible with Adam and Eve and the separation and the split, our awareness is the place where we never split from the Most High God. So in a sense, we're all connected, and I'm just grateful that opportunities like this can emerge for us to be able to have the space to talk and have aligned individuals come in and just take up all the space with us just to be here. So I'm just grateful and I'm blessed for everything. So thank y'all. And thank you, Sylvie, for having this, the space.
Thank you, Bougie, for being here with me. Amen. I love that too, that invitation for collaboration, because that's the whole point of doing this is eventually to invite other voices in and other perspectives in just to be able to talk about this deep shit, this existential shit. And it's not about the distraction of what's happening outside. It's about the direction of what's happening inside. And that's really the intention here is that we can kind of reorient ourselves and not be afraid, not be worried, but be empowered because this is the only battery you need, and your God's got it, whether you realize that or not, or are ready to accept that or not. And I'd love to hear more about the synchronicities that you were talking about, Buji, because to me, when I do wilderness therapy, that's what I look for. So for me as the
Mm.
therapist, I actually ask my client not to talk. I don't necessarily need to know what's going on with words, because sometimes words can trip up a healing process. But there's part of us going through the woods quietly, and I'll see these synchronicities and I'll be like, oh, okay, this is where they're at in their process. Oh, okay, this is what's happening for them on the inside. So I'd love to hear more
Yeah.
about that for you.
You're tapped in. Maybe that's similar to what I was just saying about I've seen that I can say whatever and it somehow still connects because I never heard of that. I mean, I never even thought of that being like that way. So for me though, the synchronicities looking back, I've seen that synchronicity's been happening since I was a kid. I just didn't have a name for it. So the most obvious one or the most repeatable ones would be I would say something or someone would say something or I would think something, whatever, and then the TV would say it like a millisecond after, not a full second, like right after. Um, and that happened for years and years and years, and I guess I didn't think too much. They had times I probably thought on it, like, but like we weren't taught this language, we weren't taught how magical this life is, so we just brush it off as coincidence. For me, they have the angel number synchronicities, the butterfly synchronicities, me looking back on something from the perceived past and seeing how it resorted itself without, even if I was stressing in the moment, it still resorted itself out. So that was more, if not, that's the biggest synchronicity that I'm not the one that's controlling his life, you know. So even meeting you, like you said, for me, this was a like you coming into my reality was a synchronicity too because of something I called in or decreed was more opportunities, and this was an opportunity to be more vocal in my understanding of this reality and just have someone else to be able to talk to about with all of this type of stuff. And I've noticed like what I was saying with like the only reason why I wasn't able to see the synchronicities or I mean I genuinely, not to speak for anyone, but I really feel like it's like this for every vessel, is if you're in your mind and not in the moment, you're not gonna see it. You have to be here and now because this is the only moment that's gonna ever exist. Like even that's why I say perceived past because yes, now technically, not even technically, yes, it's the past, but in the moment it was still right now. It's always right now. It's never not right now. That blessing or whatever it is that you're calling in or whatever, it can only be experienced in this now moment. God is experienced right now, So I think that's all. I'll put a period.
Yeah, I love that concept too of like the infinite now, because what they're learning about space-time fabric and like the quantum field of like what connects all those dimensions, right? The algorithm, like we talked about, I think it was in episode 1, was time is not linear. Like that concept of space-time in space is not the same concept of time as we say, oh, in 5 minutes from now, right? Like it's not that same concept of time. It's still a concept of like how long it takes to travel from point A to point B, which is, the measurement of time is across distance, but it's uh doesn't work because the space-time fabric folds. So you could have this much space and then boom, have that much space and then have like it's a fabric. It just like your sheet, it does all kinds of things. You can manipulate it in all kinds of ways. So I love when you said like right now I can reach out for that blessing. Like you got that future blessing, but like that future blessing is right now. Like it's already done. To your point, like there isn't any, and that's been a really helpful reminder to hear you say that for me because I've been given visions. I've been very fortunate to know that things are going to work out. And I still get freaked out. And I don't like it's so stupid. Like, I already saw the end, like, what a blessing that I already got to see where I'm gonna be, and still I'm like, "Oh,
I'll say this.
no," you know?
I want to say it's stupid because even though the incarnation himself, he still experienced fear. I think it was with the Pharisees, Jesus. I forgot the context fully, but he said like, "What should I say in this hour?" And then he was like, "It was this like this very hour is why I came here. This very moment is why I came here." Or even when he was getting put on the cross, like he's seen, I'm pretty sure he's seen all of that, like the end. Like, well, yeah, he did. He knew what was about to happen. He knew what was coming. He knew what was going to come after. He told them he was going to return and all of that. But we're infinite beings in a limited body, like in this experience. So we're gonna feel that those feelings, or like how we was talking last episode about the wobble. The wobble is gonna appear like when I was giving the camera and an actor analogy, like my true self, our true selves, we're really the camera. We never really can see the camera, but the camera's always recording the movie. But at the same time, we're the actor. The actor is gonna at times wobble, but we know we're not the actor. We're the one that's aware of the actor. And when you know that, you always can return back there. Like, oh wait, I'm watching this. I'm recording this. Like the character is experiencing going. Not even I don't like to say going through, just experiencing this moment in life, but that doesn't change my true essence. It doesn't change who I am. And what tends to happen when you know that everything just seems to keep working out for you. That's why I say like in the moment, even when I worry, like before I knew all of this, like or was able to articulate all this, I'll say in the moment I was worrying and stressing and whatever. But looking back on it, I couldn't have done it again. And the way that it ended up getting resolved was not of my own doing.
Every time. I'm so glad that you ended it like that because that brought up something I wanted to say from last time. I call it the fingerprint of God. Like, I can look back. I've lived many lifetimes in my 49 years. I've had a lot of experiences, which I'm incredibly blessed for, up, down, and everywhere in between, for sure. But definitely a winding path. And every good thing, like my children, my home, my career, like every upgrade of myself has not been anything I did, nothing I orchestrated. And it's so clear. Like, I'll be going down this path and, like, boom, this random, like, totally never saw it coming thing happen. Boom, life upgrade. I'm going down this path. Boom, this, like, random, it could be like a person I didn't expect that provides an opportunity when I was chasing a different opportunity. It could be like something syncing up, being in the right place at the right time. That was like not even the path that I was on. And so there's these fingerprints, and that's one way I can, as I'm learning to be less in my ego and less arrogant. Sometimes I'm like, is it my thoughts? Is it God's thoughts? Because we're co creating, right? So my thoughts can also be God's thoughts, and like learning that discernment. And it comes back to, for me, it comes back to that principle of like, if it's generating life and it's trending in that direction, then it's God and it's good. But if it's from here and I just know how to control, I'm gonna go do this, and then this person's gonna do this, and if they say da da da, then I'm gonna do this. If I have an obstacle, blah, 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 and it's all control, then it's this, and it's gonna blow up in my face like TNT. And one of the things Dewey Freeman, who you've heard me mention before, said is like the opposite of control is trust. So when I do get into that fear of like, how am I going to get to this vision I see? It's like, oh, that's a reminder for me to trust and like bring my things back to God and be like, hey, this is really occupying a lot of my mind, but I know you got it because you already showed me the finish line. So let me trust more. Stop being so controlling.
I don't have no proof or memory, of course. I like to say when we came here, they wiped my memory, or they wiped our memories because we were so overpowered. But I'm pretty sure I incarnated here to see the trust. I mean, to embody the faith of knowing that the Creator is providing for me. Like I really think that was like a soul blueprint for this life because the themes that keep popping up and the things that I have been letting go of, I'm pretty sure that's why I came here. One of the reasons, one of the probably many reasons I came here. But like, well, at least for me personally, like, I think I was meant to embody that trust. And I was gonna say, knowing what you were talking about helped me see the way you worded it and me well, not me, I'm talking about though, me expressing, it made me see in that moment how silly the wobble actually is. Cause and Taylor says this, but it hit differently every you know, it hits you when it hits you. If it's not us that's controlling the life anyways, then what are we worrying for? Why are we like trying to force? That popped up a few minutes ago with me posting a TikTok, like thinking of the hashtags and this, that, and the third, but knowing that the cause is the consciousness, and the consciousness is the one consciousness that's flowing through all of us, and it's not really, like I said, it's not really of me that's doing it. Then it just seems silly to waste energy on worrying, especially when you have so much proof that it keeps working out. Or like how you say, like the right person shows up and then that happens and then this happens, and it's like you couldn't have orchestrated that. So it's like, why are you keep like why you keep trying? It's me talking to me, talking to, talking to all of us, the one consciousness. But I just got a chance to see how silly it is actually. Like with my biggest song that has it's like over 300,000 streams.
Yay.
Looking back, I remember in the moment, because in the moment it was just a regular moment. It was normal. But now looking back, I remember being on a phone call with my friend, and I just randomly got an idea. I was like, let me slow the intro of this song 3 times in a row. Just let me do it 3 times in a row. And once I did it, nothing came from it. But then like I don't know how much longer after. I remember like just stressing real bad. Like I'm like, man, like, cause I seen the potential in the song. I'm like, I know this could blow up. I just seen the potential, and it was taking a toll on me. And then I guess I surrendered it. I guess I gave up on it. Like it's like, all right. And what wound up happening is one morning I just woke up. I got on TikTok. I was just scrolling, just scrolling regular, and then I I heard my song, but I didn't know it was my song. Scrolled past it, kept scrolling, and then I was like, was that my song? And then it had like it was a TikTok like 300,000 likes. And I'm like, whoa! And then it just kept blowing up. I'm like, so like I said, looking back, I didn't do none of that. Like the action, yes, like the action just happened. Like the way that thought popped up for me to do that wasn't of my own accord. That was spirit, like poof, here you go. And like yeah, in the moment, like I said, nothing came from it, but no, everything came from it. And I was just acting on that intuition.
And I think that's so important in like even this creative process of like, the podcast and like, oh, what should we do with the podcast? And it's like, doesn't matter. The podcast needs to be done. And that's kind of what you were saying before last episode. Like there's a balance between righteous action, which is our responsibility. God needs our hands and feet. God uses man to carry heaven on earth. And so like I want to volunteer every day. Put me in for what you have me to do, not what I think I have me to do, and get me out my way, which is like 95% of the work. But to your point of like, it's almost embarrassing to me now when I confess. One of my pastors taught me to like pray through the acronym. There's different teachings, but A is acknowledge, like, God, you're the number one. I don't even know like why you even take time to listen to me, but like you're the mighty of mighties, and I acknowledge that I am not, like you are God, I am not. You are awesome. And I don't have to worry about it. And then the C is confession, but confession isn't really like, oh, I smoked a cigarette and stole a pack of gum. It's more like, where do you think you're thinking? Where were you off your own mark? Where were you out of your own integrity? Which goes back to what we were talking about with disease. It's like, where did you miss it? Where did you, take a left where did you not trust that intuition, And to me, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, God doesn't really care, like, if I stole a pack of gum or smoke cigarettes, like, that's small compared to the bigger, did I stay on my purpose today? Did I keep my heart pure today? And my biggest embarrassment is when I keep getting in my own way for no damn reason. Like, it's so dumb. And when I'm retrospectively in that, where am I off? I'm like, I just had this beautiful rainbow of a blessing, and I just stood all up in the way and just blocked it. For what? Like, it just exhausted everybody in front, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, I'm like, God, that must be so frustrating for you to be like, I've hand delivered this beautiful thing, and I'm like running around like, and it's not shame. I don't feel shame anymore, but I do feel like embarrassed. Like, really? You did it again? Really? You did it again? But I have a lot of grace and compassion, but to your point, yeah, like, I know God's got it, and I know it in the big deals. So, like, let me carry it into the little deals too, free up that bandwidth.
It's I really related to that one. Like, yeah, I'm gonna speak for me. Yeah, they getting in the way. That's an that's a I don't want to say it's an egregore. I don't want to just jump to that, but because it's like it's like a program though, like that does it. Because when you come back to that knowing, it's just like it's so obvious. Like you just see it, but that's the I think I know that was I don't want to say on purpose, but I want to say a part of this, the forgetting and the remembering, because when you remember, you remember. Like every time that happens, I feel like you come back 13 times stronger. Like and it can show up in many different ways, but looking back, you see the growth. I see the growth, like reactions or just ways where energy got leaked for no reason. So it's grace. It's definitely grace. Joseph says your vision manifests by grace and grace alone. 'Cause it's not you doing it. Another
And
verse.
God already accounted for that. Like, I'm sorry, I love the guy, but King David was a dumbass. Like, he did some stupid shit. You know what I mean? Sorry. Like, he was a human as well as a conduit of the divine. He was up and down on that elevator, right? Like sometimes we're really in this meat sack and we're really in this 3D world and we're really like believing. And sometimes we're so the perspective, like you said, once you go up, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so silly. Like almost in like a compassionate, like, oh, poor little me. Like, oh, I joke and I'm not trying to say this to be offensive, but I'm like, oh, you little dum dum, like you forgot, like it's okay. Like I'd be running into a brick wall again and again. Like I'd just be like, in a corner doing the same thing again and again. But like you said, God accounted for that. Like he knows that we go wander off. Like that's why he has the sheep metaphor. He's like, I already know you're gonna, get distracted or whatever, but I'm gonna help you and bring you back.
My understanding of what we call God is just simply existence itself. So to me, it seems silly to not think it wasn't accounted for if it's happening. Okay, I'll say like this, like something created everything. And we exist in that something. We're not separate from that something. But the field, well, some people call it the field. I feel like they got different names, but the name I resonate with the most is we exist inside the field of existence itself. Nothing existed outside of it. So it's really hard for the brain. So that's why like when we talk about these beings who doing crazy things and all these different things that we feel like I guess can feel hopeless about, like, or how is it gonna get resolved? I know the thing that created everything got it. It brought life to this for and you said this last episode, it only happens because the creator allows it to happen. I remember one time they had some tears was coming out my eyes when I realized that like the love that the creator has, like he's allowing or not yeah, I'm gonna say he, that's what I say. He's allowing them to do that. It reminds me of little children being bad, like throwing a tantrum. Like they throwing a tantrum. To us it's real horrific. Like they, not to get into details of what they're doing because there are many different things. To the highest, like in the highest perspective of it, I just think of babies. They just mad right now, and it's still good. We're good. We're remembering the divinity within. We remember that we never really truly split. We truly can split. I feel like if we were to split, we just wouldn't exist in general.
Mhm. Yeah. To me, that's the definition of hell is not like this fiery furnace, but the absence of God. Like you could be so close to the dimension, but you can't get in. You can see all this peace and beauty and calm and love, but you can't access it. You know what I mean? Like that's torture. And like to
Yeah.
your point, that's what the book of Revelation is. Like we already know stuff's gonna pop off. We already know it's gonna be horrific. Like we already got the storyline. So, but we also already know who won. And to your point, that's kind of why it's so loud right now because the only tactic that whatever you want to call it, we were talking about like that distortion of the algorithm or that perversion of the algorithm. Like to me, I don't really, to your point, like language fails. Whenever someone has a true direct experience with divine, they literally can't speak about it. Like across, experiences and cultures, like the most holy of holy things, language cannot
It'll confine it.
contain. It loses its purity. It perverts it even just the slightest. So like to me, I don't really trip about you call it this, I call it that. I can't chill with you if you call it this and I call it that. Like I listen to people and I understand the energies, but I also understand in all of the natural world there's such diversity and God is such a infinite, or the being that I'm using the language of God, but source, divine, creator, whatever. You can use quantum, whatever framework you want to talk
Yeah,
about that, you know what I mean? It is inconsequential to the actual thing. Like, it's not the point to be like, you call it blah, 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 and I call it blah, blah, blah. It's like,
yeah. That's so
there's a,
that's so
from that perspective, like, we're just all balls of light. And when you're up in that, from that creator source perspective, all he sees is little balls of light. Like, he's not looking at anything else but energy and its connection to source. And that's that whole thing that the best thing we could be doing, again, I said it last time, but is to not be distracted, to not be pulled back down into this meat sack, but to lighten up, literally, to become enlightened out of the 3D and, go to the 4D or higher and be like, yeah, we are infinite beings. This is like even if it's the worst thing that happens, it's a boop, on an infinite timeline, which is a hard thing for people to grasp. But once you grasp it, you're not afraid, and that's really what you see in higher spiritual practices is you're not afraid. You're not afraid of death. You're not afraid of disaster. Everything is ordained. God even ordained the yucky creatures, and the yucky creatures know they're going to lose. So they're popping off right now, trying to take everybody with them. But we want to take everybody with us. So everybody's going home back to where they belong, which is going home. People, they naturally want to go back to the light because they're made of light. So you just have to, help, like you said, be that reflection so they can remember what, the head demons try to distract them from. But we're naturally going to float. That's what we're made of.
yep. You know what this mean? It mean clock it drop the mic. Like, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'd be interested to, as a 19-year-old, to hear your thoughts and perspectives on like sort of coming of age right now in these times.
And once again, can you tell me your definition of coming of age so I know to like stay on that topic?
When I mean coming of age, I mean going from like one life stage to another. So like when you're going from an infant to a toddler, when you're going from a toddler to an elementary kid to high school to out of high school. So you're coming of age into like adulthood. You're like a young adult, right? So you're figuring out who you're going to be beyond high school, beyond, living at home, that type of thing.
Like as many routes I could take it. I'll say this. When I was little, for whatever reason, I guess I was just spawned in knowing that something was off about the systems. I hated school. Something just didn't feel right. And then like coming into like around like 14, 15 years old, like I used to have stress, like about, I used to say I didn't want my freedom to get taken away, which I understand now was just me saying I didn't want to be forced to work a job I hate for the rest of my life and whoop-de-doop-de-doo. But what wind up happening and like this question, I really feel like I can only speak for myself. Because I feel like with everyone, knowing that age doesn't equal wisdom and everyone's where they're supposed to be at for their lifetime, it does feel like a nuanced question. But like I said, speaking just for me, when it was that time or when it is that time, like where job talks started getting brought up and all these different things, what wound up happening was my awakening at the exact same time, and I got a chance to see I'm not doing it alone. I'm not doing it at all, actually. And of course, the human worries and overthinks and try to figure out the middle and, but even even through that, the grace of Heavenly Father is so OP. I'm still being helped, you know. So like that's why I say I genuinely feel like one of my reasons for incarnating here was to embody the trust of the Most High, or to well embody and to see, you know, like even me asking as a prayer to be able to see. Like I genuinely feel like, of course, I don't know exactly how it works, but I genuinely feel like I was in spirit form. Like, all right, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get this. I want to learn this. I'm do. All right, let's come in. Let's do it.
Like Build-A-Bear.
Yeah, like let's do it.
I think so too. I think that we have so much awareness that then fades, and I think some people remember one of the purposes of Cicada, I say, is there's emotionally gifted and spiritually talented teens, and in other cultures throughout time, there was always a recognition in each generation that one or two people would be born with these gifts, so to speak, right? To use a common nomenclature. And there was a somebody in that system that could nurture those gifts. So if you had dreams and visions as a child, you could go see X person, Y person in the community that could help you understand what's happening to you, coach you, guide you, you know. If you had telepathic abilities or healing abilities or any of these things, there was usually a route for you to take. You were usually identified before you were double digits, but usually before the age of 13, before you hit puberty, and then you were given like this alternative training. And we don't really have that in America. There's such like Hogwarts and Harry Potter is such a real concept. Like there are so many gifted, talented beings, and there's not really like a way to identify and be like, hey, you, now here are the things you need to learn, right? Like both three-dimensional and higher. And so that was a big part of Cicada. But one of the biggest assessments, because I'm super nerdy, like I told you before, as a therapist, I'm always like, okay, well, how am I going to do that? And like, what model and what framework? And like, how do I assess, as you do in mental health, that someone is, what do I mean by spiritually gifted? What do I mean by emotionally talented? Like, what am I saying? What am I looking for? And so one of the opening questions is like, do you remember from before when you were born? And I ask people that straight up. Have you had near-death experience? Do you remember from before you were born? Do you go places in your dreams, and is it the same place more than once? Those three questions,
Place?
like,
You
do
said this.
you have very vivid dreams, and do you go to the same place more than once?
I do. I do. That's crazy.
To me, those are like common threads. People who don't forget, like to your point, like we all know why like when before we're a human, we have the preset, like, yep, I'm on it. This is my team. This is the plan. We're going to run this play. We're going to boop pop beat. Like this is the mission. This is the goal. Like you're solid. Like you're like, yes, let's go. And then you get here and you like become a little dum-dum. That's what I say to myself. Like, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you remember, and then you're like, oh, this is going to be great. Like I'm super stoked. But I think some people don't forget. They just don't ever forget. Like they came into the meat sack, but they're still up on the fifth floor, so to speak.
When it comes down to dreams and going to the same places, what's your understanding on that?
Well, the dream realm is its own other dimension, in my opinion. Like you're good. Just the same way you go to a different part of your consciousness in meditation, or a different part of your consciousness when you are intimate with someone you really love, like those altered states, even altered states like on psilocybin mushrooms or THC, like everything that you're going to is like a different, I wouldn't say dimension, but like realm, maybe. It's a different neighborhood. And your dreams are able to communicate in a language that's more ancient and primordial. Like, there's not like you don't have a dream and they're like, hey, let me tell you what to do tomorrow, dude. Like, it's not like that. It's like it's like in symbols and shapes and vibes and saliency of things. It's just a whole different. So I believe when you go back to the same place more than once, that's a remembering whatever that place is. You're going back to that realm of remembering to get information because it's easier to cross dimensional portals when your head is not in the way. You know what I mean? Like when you're able to be free of limiting constructs. So it's a way to get information. Not all dreams are the same. Some dreams are just like Prophet Levy, the guy I shared with you, who's like my spiritual father, I would say. It's like some of them are just you ate some beans and they disagreed with you and you just or you had something on your mind from work, but there are some that have a different flavor to them that feel a little more like sacred or important.
I asked that because for whatever the reason is, I always go back to my middle school. Like, it's a constant theme. I always go back to school. And in the dreams, I'm never learning. Like, I'm never doing no schoolwork or nothing. The only time I was about to do schoolwork, everybody in the classroom was on computers playing games. So, but every other time, like, I had one maybe 2, 3 months ago. It was my first time graduating. Like, I had graduated. I remember supposed to go up to go take the picture with the diploma and all of that. But I remember the lady was still working on my diploma or something. Some weird stuff. But I wound up telling her like, F it, I don't care. Let me go take my picture. Took my picture. I got out there. I remember walking back in the hallway. Somebody dapped me up. But like that's the common thing. I always go back to school for whatever the reason is. I always like vividly like that's something I can say. I'm in school for some reason.
Well, that's different. Like, I thought that's well, it can be, I should say, because I don't know everything. I always go back to this house that I lived in when I was 7. Not the house I lived in the longest, not the most memorable house, but I always, every single time, and every single time it's almost like a continuation kind of, because they kind of build off each other, but it's like almost like a different quest or something, like, I don't know, like a different thing I'm doing each time, but it's never obvious. I'm like always like, why am I here? And I have to like look around and figure out why I'm here. That can be more like something important happened during that time, which you've actually referenced a couple times already, and that you're still integrating, you're still like figuring out, right? So I know why I went back to that house specifically, because some memorable things happened there, right? So like I'm still working it out, and each time that it's different is like a spiral of like what I'm working out. And this last time, which is so funny that you said that you were graduating, it was the first time that it had furniture, and it had like it looked not it like didn't look like it did in real life. It had like cute stuff and like it was like how I would have wanted it to look like, kind of thing. And I was like, huh, I wonder if that means I'm done. Cause ever since then, I don't go back there anymore. Like ever since it looked like what I would have wanted my childhood, bedroom, for instance, to look like, then like I just don't show up there anymore in dreams.
The correlations with real life and then the dreams, like you see it. It's like I be thinking of it as the manifestation of certain emotions. I know it's deeper than that. Like it's I really I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I can't explain it, but the way that the graduation dream correlated to what was going on in real life, I'm like, that's crazy that I graduated and I'm understanding this now, and this is integrating. And I finally graduated school. I thought I was done, but I still wound up going back there. But it's the dreams for whatever reason, like I don't be able to remember all of them. How I think it's probably been like that though. The most memorable dreams was the only one where I was lucid, like where I knew I was dreaming. But for the most part, I can only tell you like a few seconds of like glimpses. But I know like when I wake up, I be knowing it was so much more. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, huge recommendation to just keep your notebook by your, uh, or even like your voice recorder by your bedside, even if you just write a couple words. Also, there's different kinds of dreams, right? So some of the dreams are more like your brain has a bunch of leftovers and they want to make it into a meal. So like you're gonna dream in order to integrate like unanswered things from the day. But other stuff like that, like the fact that your name wasn't fully written on the certificate, but you're like, I'm graduating, right? Like that can have its own messaging, right? And
Yeah.
then like that so I always say when it comes to dream interpretation, which is something that some therapists do, it's definitely a class you take. And there's so many different like camps and cultures on how to do it. But if you explain it like whomever on your spirit team is trying to to give you a message, they're going to give it to you in familiar form for you so that you can absorb it. So the making meaning of the message is helpful for you to make your meaning because you understand the nuances of what that means as it relates to your life. So it's like they're trying to find a common language. It doesn't really have to do with high school per se, but
Yeah.
it will reveal itself to you, and you can obviously like pray for that type of revelation as well. But when it comes to dreams, don't think so much of like what you're actually seeing, but more like the deeper kind of, if that was the only words to explain like graduation, it's not really about you graduating middle school. It's about this concept of graduation and like you arriving into this next threshold of your life, and that you're almost there or whatever, but you're
What
like
I
you're going to know what that means the most. So I just am saying that to anybody who's listening, cuz sometimes people can trip out like, I saw a crow, what does it mean? I dreamt of a fish and a wheel, and like, not that you shouldn't have other people interpret your dreams, but like it's a very sacred language, and so it's not like you're going to know that message over time through prayer and revelation.
what I do sometimes, like when it flows, like when when I say when it flows, I guess it's when I feel like turning over, grabbing my phone. I'll tell the AI what I remember right quick, and then I might doze back off and look at it later. But usually the symbols, because it's symbols and patterns. Usually when it reflected back to me, and I use my discernment to read over what it's saying, it be making sense. It be
And
making
that's
sense.
like you said, like just like your prayers are silent, like the answers can be like that. You know what I mean? Like it's just the universe speaks in different languages and everybody has their own like way of listening. This was yet another good episode. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here.
Just us doing this. This could be the start of, like, somebody seeing this could be their motivation to start their podcast and then go on to be famous podcaster or do what they need to fulfill, or like, and we're just acting from just doing it. Stuff don't matter. We just come here, we flow, we make it work, we let it do what it do. It is what it is. It's authentic. But yeah, I'm grateful everybody is here. This is the Deep Shit Podcast where we talk about deep shit and we dive deep within. And
And if
yeah,
you want to learn more about Bougie, it's AYEITS It's Bougie at Instagram. If you want to check out his music, where did they go?
Bougie go everywhere at all platforms I never heard of. BUJ.
And I'm Sylvie Silva. If you want to learn more about me, it's Cicada Institute, CICADAINSTITUTE um, .com or at the Cicada Institute at Instagram. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to have you. Thank you for being on this mission. Collective consciousness is real. You matter, and there is hope, and we are the light that's shining. So keep on shining. Till next time.
Love you. Yeah.